It is extremely rare to find a piece of media that feels like it was specifically made for you. But that's exactly how I felt when I came across MGM Plus's mystery horror show, From. Now, you may or may not be familiar with From, even though its first season aired in 2022, with the show initially having a fairly small audience that has only grown since, largely through word of mouth. Its quiet debut can partially be linked to the streaming service it airs on, something that has actually worked to the show's benefit. If I asked you to name 5 streaming services, it's doubtful MGM Plus would be one of the first sites you'd name. Hell, it might not even be one of the first 10 streaming services you'd name. But being on MGM Plus allowed From to experiment and develop in ways it might not have been able to had it been on one of the larger streaming services like Netflix.
If we were on some other network, we might have had other financial commitments or goals that we had to reach in order to get another season. But being on MGM Plus, they were like, well, let's just keep rolling all these shows.
Netflix is pretty infamous for canceling fantastic shows prematurely, cutting them off before they could truly blossom into the cultural zeitgeist. From isn't even on Netflix, and Netflix is probably still trying to cancel it. That's how much they like to cancel shows early in their run. By being on MGM Plus, From was allowed to get renewed, partly just because the site needed content. This has allowed the fandom surrounding the show to grow and reach heights it might not have been able to on a bigger network. It's pretty clear that I am a big fan of From, and here's my pitch as to why you should give the show a chance and watch it. I'm going to try and avoid spoilers the best that I can.
Don't spoil it for me.
But I feel a general overview of what the show is about should give you an indication as to whether or not it's something you would be interested in. The setting of the show is a small, desolate town, lovingly referred to by the fandom as Fromville. The town is a nightmare made manifest, as its residents find themselves trapped with no way to escape.
Who knew how long the place had stood there? 40 years? 50 years? Tempus immemoria, i.e. always? But it was a bad place. That much was certain. A very bad place indeed.
They could be driving anywhere, when suddenly they will find their way blocked by a tree in the road, and by that point, it's already too late.
Everyone sees the tree.
When they inevitably turn around and try to go back the way that they came, they find themselves on the road to Fromville, which loops endlessly. No matter how many times they try to drive past the town, or whichever direction they drive, they always wind up back where they started.
See people still driving around, huh?
It's the worst part. You still expect to find the road that takes you home?
The Matthews family serves as the audience's surrogate, as they unwittingly find themselves trapped on this endless road, and wind up as the town's newest residents. Now, being trapped in a dilapidated old town entirely cut off from the outside world would be bad enough, but the true horror starts when the sun sets. From is very much like Minecraft, in that once it's nighttime, monsters come out of the woods and attack the residents. On first glance, the monsters in From don't look all that spooky. I mean, they just look like old-timey people. There's a milkman, a granny, a bride, and a rodeo cowboy, among others. Not so scary, right?
You seem less
Spooky!
than we'd have guessed.
Oh no, I can be pretty spooky when called upon. Oh, I can go rawr, rawr, and claws and everything.
Go back, go back, go back. When they reveal their true nature, we see the evil that is hiding beneath the surface. The monsters are also immensely creepy, even in their basic form, eerily smiling, slowly walking as they hunt the people of the town. The people of Fromville are helpless to fight against the monsters, and so the best they can do is hide.
Well, what'd you expect? It's nighttime. My hands were tied. The sun went down.
They have these talismans where if you hang them by the door and have every door and window locked, the monsters can't get in to hurt you. However, the monsters whisper and try to persuade the residents to open up and let them in. These whispers almost have a supernatural persuasion to them, and so residents cover their windows as it makes it easier to ignore the monster's words.
You'll feel better if you come outside.
The town itself is divided into 2 subgroups, the town and Colony House. Whenever a new resident arrives in Fromville, they must choose if they are going to stay in Colony House or in the main town. The people of Colony House are defined by their desire to live for today. Being trapped in this hellhole, knowing that any night could be their last, the people of Colony House do their best to live it up. They drink, smoke, party, trying to have a good time almost in defiance of their situation. The people of the town are different in that they try and cling to a job of sorts to give them purpose. Unable to sit idle or to spend all their time partying, they try and create their own normal by working to provide services any town might need. These two different ways of dealing with being trapped can tell us a lot about these characters. The show focuses on the people of Fromville and their attempts to solve the mystery of the town and find a way back home.
That's where we began.
The characters are constantly trying to uncover new secrets, with each episode feeding clues to the audience about the origins of this nightmare town. From encourages its audience to invest in the show's mythos and to come up with theories that answer the show's countless questions. One of the characters even makes a theory wall, signaling for the audience to do the same. Now, mystery shows can often be tricky to navigate as the audience can come up with their own headcanons to mysteries, which can sometimes leave them feeling unsatisfied with the answers provided by the show. People can also hyper-focus on getting answers, becoming frustrated with the rate at which mysteries are solved.
Now? I want some friggin' answers!
Now, I think a lot of the mysteries in From are fantastic, and I have the utmost faith that the important questions will be answered. Although, my experience watching other similar style shows has prepared me to not expect that every tiny mystery will be answered. Sometimes, you have to let the mystery be. My philosophy when watching these shows is to come for the mystery, but to stay for the characters. Because ultimately, in my opinion, the spooky setting and nightmarish circumstances the characters find themselves in is done to explore the human condition.
People in extreme circumstances, and how do they rise to those occasions?
One of my favorite shows of all time is Lost. Yes, there was a reason I didn't put it in the ending Hall of Shame in my last video, and that's because I love Lost's ending. Even though it's still highly criticized after all these years for not answering all of the questions it set up in its 6-season run, I felt like they answered the questions that needed to be answered, and gave an incredibly beautiful send-off to the characters that we had seen grow so much over the course of the show. The mysteries, the island, it all served to explore these characters and put them in extraordinary circumstances that forced them to evolve as individuals. And when watching From, it's easy to see that a lot of the DNA from Lost is baked into From. And I'm not just talking about how Harold Perrineau, who played Michael in Lost, stars in From, or how Javier Grillo-Marxuach and Jack Bender, who are both heavily involved in Lost, are also working on From. I mean to say that From values its characters the same way Lost did, as its #1 priority.
It's a character drama masquerading as a horror series.
Key to this show is caring about the people. And I think that's true of all good television and storytelling.
Everything is to service the characters, as we find ourselves enthralled by their stories. From does an excellent job of creating a compelling ensemble of characters that the audience can fall in love with. We see them pushed to the utter brink, as they desperately try to cling on to the hope that they will someday be able to return home.
Every new person who comes here just assumes that it's just the monsters they have to be afraid of, but that's not the hardest part. It's what this place does to you, what it makes you question about every single thing that you think you know.
We feel their fear and sorrow, as they are helpless to do anything to fight the monsters, and have to watch as their loved ones die, one after another. The tensions of the town can sometimes be too much to handle, and so the characters need to work together in their search for an escape. And even though what they are going through is horrible, there can still be beauty found in Fromville.
I wanted you to see, even a nightmare can look like a dream.
Being cut off from the outside world and forced to try and survive together, the people of Fromville slowly build a community. In the darkness, they serve as each other's light. People who would have never otherwise met help each other and become a sort of family. There's also a lot of trauma bonding that's going on, But one of the best parts of the show, in my opinion, is seeing people working together in spite of their terrible circumstances and slowly building a community together. I think From is an incredibly special series. Its showrunners have a clear direction where they want to take the story, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs as we reach its ultimate conclusion.
Do you think there's going to be a happy ending?
I don't know. Guess we'll find out.
They have created some excellent mysteries, while still putting an emphasis on character growth. As of the recording of this video, the 3rd season is just finishing up, and so there's 3 full seasons to binge available if that's something you're interested in. The show has also just recently been renewed for a 4th season, so it's good to know for those just getting into the series that there is more to come. I sincerely hope you check it out, as I think it deserves more attention. If you somehow made it to the end of the video, I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. It really helps out the channel. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.